think about man and his nature and his ways. Man, he has a desire to worship. Just the old carnal man, he tries to turn worship in the wrong direction. In the book of chapter 20 of Exodus, God said, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other God. Thou shalt have no other God. Thou shalt not make any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. God, why did he say that? God knew the nature of man. To worship. But he has a tendency to praise and worship the Lord. People get superstitious. You know, the old adage, black cat running across the road, bad luck. Well, it's bad luck for the cat to run over it. But superstition is just superstition. That's all it is. Grandpa Cooper used to say people's carelessness is their bad luck. Saw a little inscription up at the license office years ago that said, lack of preparation on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. If you ain't got all your papers together, that's no problem. A lot of times, this is the thing. In the Eastern religions, I've read different kind of. Miss Betty, she talked to a woman from India, I guess it was. They were working up in Reading, Pennsylvania, with Susan working there. She stayed in this hometown. People from India, hometown. Miss Betty asked this lady, said, do you worship one supreme being? Oh, no. She said, we have many gods. How's that happen? I talked to a woman in Riverton, Wyoming. She was a Native American called Indians. And they're still trying to bring the buffalo back. They worship something that's in their mind. A figment of their imagination. You say, how did that happen? Well, the buffalo. The buffalo was a mainstay of the plains. Mainstay of their food. The buffalo hide that made their teepees out of it. It was their clothing. I think it's pretty important. And that's fine. I understand that's important. But it's not to worship. But the people prone to worship something is because it meets a need. That's physical. If, you know, like have an eclipse of the sun, people, they get all torn up and offer sacrifices and things. It's because, you know, maybe they did something that day they think, well, it's because I did this. So it's, I ain't never going to do that again. Or whatever it was, it might not have a bit of harm in it. But people relate. It's kind of like when you get sick. You know, whatever you ate last week, you say, well, that made me sick. A lot of times it's just because you ate it last. You were getting sick, something was working in your body already, and you happened to eat a banana sandwich or a piece of meat or whatever, and you just related to that. that's it. So we relate, we attach importance to things that really, they're in air. They're in air. If we can get this thing figured out, and it's in the book, thou shalt have no God. Thou shalt have no God. Let me show you something. You know, when something monumental happens, it kind of puts people in a state of worship, in a sense. Revelation chapter 22. Angels talking to John, is going down through some things, some pretty powerful stuff. Revelation 22. And, anyway, verse 6 said, and he said unto me, these things are faithful and true, and the Lord God of the holy prophet sent his angel to show his servants the things which must shortly be done. Behold, I come quickly. Blessed is he who keepeth the sayings of the prophecy of this book. And I, John, saw these things and heard them. And when I had heard and seen, you'll have to admit, this is pretty powerful stuff. When I had heard and seen, I fell down to worship before the feet of the angel which showed me these things. It was an awesome, glorious experience for sure. We're not doubting that at all. We're not denying. This next verse gives us some clarity. Gives us some clarity. It said, then said he unto me, see thou do it not. For I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren the prophets, and of them which keep the sayings of the book. Those next two words. Worship God. People, they try to make something work. They worship the moon. It's been done to you. The stars, you know. Maybe something shows up. Have an eclipse of the moon. Well, that's a pretty, when you're out there and you live close to the earth, you know, you just, we go to our air-conditioned, heated homes, but when you have to live in that atmosphere, whatever the weather brings you, whatever the day brings you, it affects you. Your food, everything is affected by that. Read about the Eskimos. If the caribou changed their route, they didn't show up when they usually did, they made life hard. Because that was their food. They depended on that. They depended on the hunt of the caribou. And so it was the buffalo, or whatever it is, the fish. And the human spirit sometimes, we understand those things can be important, they are, but it's not something to worship. Worship God. We're thankful for food. We're thankful for transportation. We're thankful for a job. We're thankful to be able to have health and strength. We're thankful for the benefits of life. But just keep it in its place. Worship God. May it has to be found spirit of worship. You say, what are you talking about? Well, I want to get this in our mind. Think about the moon, the stars, the ocean, the rivers, the fish, the deer, the caribou, the elk, the moose, the buffalo, the cow, the whatever it is. The one that made it all. The creator. The creator of heaven and earth. That looked down and saw our needs. Saw our longings. That in our heart there was an emptiness, there was an empty place, there was a hole. We had our soul hole. And God created man for fellowship. He wanted to bestow His goodness on us. Planted a garden with every tree that was beautiful, on every tree that was good for food. And He put man right there. He said, you can have everything here. Just ask one thing, leave this one tree alone. And what does a hard man want to do? He wants to go after the one thing God said leave alone. But if we appreciate all that He gave, if you look around and see all that He's given, you appreciate it. And you say, it's not a problem to leave this alone. It's not a problem. If this God loved me so much that He sent the perfect jewel of heaven down to this world to pay my sin debt, but He didn't owe anything, but He paid my sin debt. And then He opened the treasure of heaven to bless. He said, bring your tithes in the storehouse, said I. Prove me, saith the Lord, I'll open the windows of heaven for you. God bless will be room to receive it. If He loved me enough to say, all things work together for good of them that love God and call first. He's going to work something good in my life. Even in the things that look bad, He can work something good. And if He's doing that, then I ought to have a thanksgiving. You know what happens a lot of times in marriage? You start seeing something that they don't like another person. That's what they focus on. And it just gets bigger, 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 bigger. Instead of focusing on what's good, what we like, what's the benefit, and what we have. We focus on what we don't have. That's kind of a blessing. And then it develops a sense of appreciation. And everything you think. What does that mean? It means that God's got something for you in every situation. He got a lesson. You can learn something. You can grow. You can learn more about God in this. It may be heart-wrenching and just painful, heartbreaking, but in the midst of that, you can learn what it is to have peace in the midst of trouble. You can learn what it is for God to calm your storm. The disciples were going across the Sea of Galilee. Jesus had stayed over on the other side. In the middle of the night, the storm arose. And they were afraid. And here comes Jesus, walking on the water. Walking on the water. And they saw Him, and they thought it was a spirit, scared them. And they cried out. Scripture said He would have passed on by. They cried out. He said, be not afraid. It is I. Be not afraid. It is I. Be not afraid. The Peter said, Lord, if it be Thou bid me to come to Him, Lord, He said, come. So Peter was trying to go. This is the thing. He had that sense of trust, that communion, and He gave the courage to step out of that boat. And we've got the message, we've got the story, and as long as you get His eyes on Jesus, He's doing fine. He looked around, there came a wave. Help me, Lord, not to focus on the waves. Because I might lose my sense of worship. I might lose children, mother and daddy that work that night and day, trying to meet their needs, take care of them, feed them, diaper them, have something to do, have a place for them to lay their head, to have a warm place to stay. And they tell them something they can't do. No, you can't. Tell them no. And that old spirit rises up, hits you a little fist. We're not too much different from that. If we ain't careful, we want to rise up and forget all the good God has done and lose our hard work. But I like this thing about some people that have been through something, but they never lost their heart. David was running from Saul. Going through some tough times, man. I mean tough times. It was rough. But he kept his heart worshiping, trusting God. He went so far as to tell Saul, "I handle everything against you." He had to have his trust in God. Because that 3,000-man army down there to kill him. We've got to keep this sense of closeness to God. That's what worship does. It keeps us this sense of closeness to God. Paul and Silas, we've heard the story, sung the song, heard it over and over. They're deaf. They're in chains. They got iron on them. That's uncomfortable. I train people when I get cuffed up. It's not very comfortable. I don't know if they're careful about how they put the iron on their wrist and on their legs or not. I'm not too happy with it. Whatever, they're sitting there in iron, chained to the wall or whatever. Their back is bleeding. Probably cold and down. Just a miserable place to be. But about midnight, they begin to worship. They begin to worship. What do they got to worship about? Are they worshiping because they're in chains? Well, they're not. Except they're thankful. God maybe kind of honor and suffer for the name of Christ. Are they worshiping because their back is bleeding and sore? Well, maybe they consider that an honor to suffer. But if they focus on how sore their back is, it's going to change. If they focus on how cold and how uncomfortable this iron is on their wrist and on their ankle, it's going to change. But instead, they obviously look up. But they worship. And they begin to sing praises. Maybe we'll get to hear them rehearse that song. Hear them tell the story. We'll be faithful to make it home after a while. But we know this, that their hearts will worship. In the midst of this pain, in the midst of this discomfort, in the midst, it's hard to like, when you're in that, it's hard to find a comfortable position. You believe what I'm telling you. But they have a heart. They begin to sing praises to God. Just had this one thing about it. He's worthy to be praised. This body is not comfortable. This body doesn't feel well. But my spirit is connected. I have this joy, this thankfulness to know this God. That in the midst of this, He's still God. He's still God. And I'm determined to be faithful. I'm going to give Him the praise that He's due. Because He's God. Because He loved us so much that He gave Jesus, His only begotten Son, that down a horrible death, crucified on a Calvary cross. And he buried 3 days and rose victorious. And I have hope for that. And I worship. They just see over there in the darkness, they just lift their head and worship. Worship. And all of a sudden, the place begins to shake. Now complaining wouldn't have done that. They could have belittled the priest, belittled the jailer, belittled. I despise this man. We shouldn't be treated this way. I mean, you go through the whole human nature. You've heard things. I shouldn't have to go through this. I shouldn't have suffered this. Why am I devised? Why this happened to me? You can ask yourself those questions. I can ask. Or we can say, why not? Why not? Why not me? God's got something to teach me. Why not me? Spending up there in the middle of the floor preaching years ago. Lord revealed to me I'm going to go through some fiery trials. Okay? So be it. His grace is sufficient in the midst of the fiery trial. Worship God. Don't worship angels. No. The Bible speaks about people intruding into those things which they have not seen, worshiping of angels. No, we don't worship angels. We don't worship Mary. We don't. No, we worship God. Leaders worshiping the things that go well. That's not. I wouldn't call that true worship. Do we worship with things? Not worship. That looks like something that's more real. If you can worship when the things are looking tough, when there's some pain going on, when there's some heartache going on, when things didn't turn out as planned, but you're still, your heart is true. True. To worship. True. You see, what about a friend? We've all heard of fair with friends, when there's money, when the party is going on, Bible speaks about it. There's plenty of friends then. But when the party's over, money's gone, what happens then? Well, I think we can figure that out pretty easy. Take a look at the man. He had some money. He had some silver, gold, whatever. And as long as he had some money, he seemed to have some friends. But he wound up one day in a hog pen, feeding hogs. Nobody cared even to give him a crust of bread. His friend forgot. I would like to be a friend to Jesus when things are going well. And I'd like to be a friend of Jesus when things are going tough. Really be a friend of Jesus when things get tough. Because if I keep my friendship with you, and I keep this heart of worship in those times, I believe I'll have I believe it'll bring us closer. I believe it'll bring us into a more intimate relationship. I believe that we can be like Abraham and God said, now, I know he has passed the test. As the Lord spoke to Paul, he was in a bad situation, didn't look very good. But he said, fear not, Paul, as you testify in Jerusalem, you testify in Rome. I ain't done it. I love it. So tonight, I guess I'll leave this with you. If you be faithful, in tough times, God's not through with you. He's not through with you. He's got something he wants to put you through the fire a little bit. grace of God and say, I know what God did for me. I was worthy. I was not worthy to do this, but He had mercy on me. Lord God, have mercy on this. You know what tell me? He said, wow, when we were unlovable, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for who? The ungodly. You look at people that are ungodly and you say, oh, they know what to do. Let's remember to worship this God and change His life. Don't look right. It can be changed. And be thankful. Remember where He brought you from, what He's given you, what He's made available to you. Let it